A French court has refused to lift a ban on what's referred to as the Burkini. It is swimwear for fundamentalist Muslims who want to cover their women when they go to the beach. Now, there are some pictures of the Burkini, as you can see, like they're covered head to ankle for the most part. And in France, there's not only a ban on the Burkini, there's a ban on most Muslim religious apparel, including the niqab or the hijab. And so part of the reason why is because they want to push this idea of a secular society. But at the same time, a lot of Muslims living in France feel like they're being targeted and they're being discriminated against because of their religion. So this is a really interesting and difficult case for someone like me because I hate the Burkini and I hate all of those headdresses and I hate the fact that they cover women up like that. But at the same time, banning specific religious apparel, I think, does discriminate against certain groups of people. And I'm not in favor of that either. What I would prefer is that we have a system of education in place so these women feel empowered to really make a decision for themselves, right? Like in the United States, there are plenty of people that come from conservative backgrounds. I came from a conservative background. I had certain expectations that my family, really pushed on me, and I rebelled against them because I was empowered through education and opportunity. And so I think that if you allow nature to take its course in a free and open society, eventually something as ridiculous as the Burkini will be phased out.
So I largely agree with you, but not everybody will. Let's do a YouTube poll on this one too. So look, when I see a Burkini, I recoil at it, not because I think the people wearing it are bad people. Of course not. They're human beings. We defend them all the time. But because it comes from a culture that has brainwashed people that the human body is a bad thing, and guys have uncontrollable impulses, and if they were to see above your ankle, they'd go nuts and attack you, and the women are to be put away, and when you have that attitude, it permeates through other things. I mean, so yes, I've seen people in burqas. Well, actually, I'm not sure I have seen someone in a burqa be a doctor. And I assume there are, but I don't really know. Certainly in hijabs, yes, no question about it. Headscarves, that are doctors, professors, etc., lawyers. And at the same time, and look, and we're all a product of how we grew up. So I grew up very secular as a Turk. So back in the day, now Turkey's more fundamentalist too, but back in the day, Turkey was a very secular Muslim country, and it rivaled the U.S. in how secular it was. It's built into the Constitution. It was built into our culture. And I know people who, when they saw anybody with a headscarf, not the older crowd, but like they see a young woman who covers herself in a headscarf, or God forbid, see, I did it right there. My natural impulse, God forbid, a burqa, right? That would go and mutter to themselves, Allah belalarını versin, which means may God damn them.
Yeah.
Because from their perspective, I'm now agnostic, so I don't have any of these perspectives, but I'm telling you what the culture that I grew up in, they thought that it was not a religious thing to cover up women, that it was a stupid interpretation of the religion, and it was to oppress women, and so that's the culture I grew up in, so that's my natural reaction. Now, having said all of that against the burqa and to some degree the hijab, one, I'll protect you to the end if that's what you wear, because you're all human beings. There's no set of human beings that are worse than other human beings, etc. Number two, I believe in freedom, and if you believe in a secular culture, that allows people to make that choice. Now, I hear you that because we all get brainwashed, is it really a choice? Brainwashed into our particular religion, our particular culture, etc. But we can't, as a society, do the same wrong thing that fundamentalist societies do. So Iran says, I'm going to have morality police and make sure you're not exposing any skin. Now, France is, in essence, saying the equal and opposite thing, which is I'm going to have morality police to make sure you are exposing your skin.
Yeah, look, that's also a really weird component of all of this, right? Because if someone is wearing a burkini or is too covered up at the beach, Like, is there fashion police that shows up? Like, do people report that individual as being too modest in their attire for the beach? You see what I'm saying? Like,
and where do you draw the line?
Exactly. It's
what
just
you got a
strange.
one piece? They're like, nope, you got to get in a bikini. This is France.
It's super strange. Super strange. Look, I love Europe for the fact that you can go to the beach without even having a top on as a woman, and no one cares.
I love
awesome,
it too.
Right? But what's great is that I get to make that choice as to whether or not I wear my bikini top or not, right? In this case, I get it. A lot of people look at the burkini and they see oppression. I see it, and I hate it. I get a knee-jerk negative reaction to it. But at the same time, we've all been brainwashed in one way or another, and the important thing is that you have education available to you so you can eventually make your own choices and feel empowered to do so. I'll give you an example. I grew up super religious. I grew up going to Sunday school every single Sunday from the age of 3 to about 17, okay? And I'm now an atheist. And the reason why I'm an atheist is because of education, okay? It doesn't matter how much my parents tried to push religion on me. Doesn't matter how much they try to convince me that premarital sex is evil and I'm gonna go to hell for it. I mean, I made my own decisions because I felt empowered to do so. And so once you give people those opportunities, eventually something as ridiculous as the burkini will phase out. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think France is trying to do the right thing by being an open society. But I think part of being an open society is allowing for burqas and burkinis while you educate people on what their real options are so that the next generation can make a more informed decision. You want to watch the whole 2-hour show every day, any way you want, anytime you want, with any device you want? That's why we made membership. tytnetwork.com/join. I know what you're thinking.
Give me a break.
You didn't know about it before, but now you do. tytnetwork.com/join.